The night everything changed did not announce itself. There was no warning, no dramatic music, no sense that lives were about to turn in a new direction. It began quietly with cold rain falling on a small house in a quiet Vermont town. And with a knock on the door that would never be forgotten. Ethan Miller had always believed that life rewarded effort. If you worked hard, stayed loyal, and didn't complain too much, things would work out. That belief had carried him through long shifts at the hardware store, through caring for aging parents, and through years of quiet loneliness he never talked about. He was the kind of man people trusted, the kind who showed up, the kind who hid his own pain behind responsibility. His sister Claire knew this better than anyone. Claire had returned to town 3 months earlier with 2 suitcases and a forced smile. She told people she was taking a break. What she didn't say was that her engagement had ended suddenly, leaving her unsure of who she was or where she belonged. Coming back to her childhood town felt like failure, but Ethan never treated it that way. He just hugged her and said she could stay as long as she wanted. That Friday night, the house felt unusually quiet. Rain slid down the windows, blurring the streetlights outside. Claire sat on the living room floor folding laundry, her thoughts drifting in circles she couldn't escape. Ethan sat on the couch pretending to watch television while actually staring at nothing. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. Then the doorbell rang. Ethan frowned. No one visited this late, especially not in bad weather. Claire looked up, a strange feeling tightening her chest. As if her body sensed something her mind hadn't caught up with yet, Ethan opened the door. A woman stood there, soaked from the rain, her coat darkened with water. She looked tired but steady, like someone who had learned how to stand even when the ground kept shifting. Her hair was pulled back loosely, and her eyes held a mix of courage and fear. "Ethan," she said quietly. His face went pale. "Lena." Claire's breath caught. She recognized the name instantly. Everyone in town did. Lena Carter wasn't just Ethan's ex. She was the woman he had loved before he learned how much love could hurt. "I'm sorry to show up like this," Lena said. "My car broke down a few blocks away. I didn't know who else to call." For a moment, no one moved. Rain fell harder, filling the silence. Ethan stepped aside. "Come in." The moment Lena crossed the threshold, the air inside the house shifted. Claire felt it, like the room had become smaller and heavier all at once. They sat together in the living room with mugs of hot tea. Lena's hands shook slightly as she wrapped them around the cup. Ethan watched her carefully, as if she might disappear again if he blinked too long. Claire studied Lena when she thought no one noticed. She was different from what Claire had imagined all these years. Not dramatic, not distant, just human. Worn but strong. "I moved back last week," Lena said finally. "I didn't plan to see you so soon. Or like this." Ethan's jaw tightened. "You left without a word." "I know," Lena said, her voice soft but steady. "And I've regretted it every day." Claire felt like she was sitting in the middle of something fragile. She wanted to leave the room, but something held her there. Lena glanced at her. "You must be Claire." Claire nodded. "Yeah, you've grown," Lena said with a small smile. "You look braver." Claire almost laughed. Almost, "I don't feel brave." Lena looked at her with surprising warmth, like she understood more than Claire had said. The conversation moved slowly, carefully, like stepping over thin ice. Lena explained that she had left town years ago because fear had convinced her she wasn't ready for the life Ethan wanted. She had thought leaving would protect them both. Instead, it only left questions that never healed. Ethan listened more than he spoke. When he did speak, his words were measured, controlled, but heavy with emotion. "You hurt me," he said quietly. "I know," Lena replied, "and I don't expect forgiveness. I just didn't want to keep running." The rain continued outside as the night deepened. Eventually, Ethan offered Lena the couch. She hesitated, then accepted with a grateful nod. Claire went to bed, but sleep didn't come. She stared at the ceiling, replaying the evening in her mind. She could hear the faint sounds of movement downstairs, the quiet murmur of voices she couldn't quite make out. Her chest felt tight, not with jealousy, but with something more confusing. She told herself it was just the past reopening. that nothing about this involved her. But she knew that wasn't true. The next morning, sunlight filled the house as if the night hadn't existed. Claire came downstairs to find Lena standing by the kitchen window, holding a mug of coffee and staring outside. "Morning," Lena said gently. "Morning," Claire replied. They stood in silence for a moment. It wasn't uncomfortable. It felt thoughtful. "Thank you for letting me stay," Lena said. "I know this isn't easy." Claire surprised herself by saying, "I think some things are meant to be hard." Lena smiled, a real smile this time. Ethan joined them, looking tired but calmer than Claire had seen him in years. Over breakfast, they talked about simple things. The weather, the town, old neighbors. But beneath the surface, everything felt charged. Over the next few days, Lena stayed. Ethan and Lena talked late into the evenings, their conversations quiet but intense. They spoke about missed chances, about how fear can look like certainty when you're young, and about how time changes what you think you want. Claire tried to give them space. She went for long walks. She helped around the house. She told herself she was just a witness. But something unexpected happened. One afternoon, while Ethan was at work, Lena asked Claire if she wanted to walk with her. They strolled through the neighborhood, leaves crunching under their feet. "You love him," Claire said softly. Lena nodded without hesitation. "I always have." Claire swallowed. "I think this town breaks people, but it also gives them a second chance." Lena looked at her with curiosity. "You sound like someone who's been hurt." Claire hesitated, then spoke. "I was engaged. It ended. I came back because I didn't know where else to go." "Sorry," Lena said. "For what it's worth, you deserve something honest." Their eyes met, and in that moment, Claire felt something she couldn't name. Not desire, not fear, just recognition. Two people carrying different kinds of loss, standing in the same quiet space that night. Ethan and Lena stood on the porch under a sky full of stars. "I don't want to lose you again," Ethan said. "I'm not running anymore," Lena replied. Inside the house, Claire listened to the soft sounds of the night and realized something important. Her brother's life was changing right in front of her, and somehow, so was hers. The knock on the door had brought back the past, but it had also opened the door to something new. And none of them yet understood the cost or the promise of what had begun. The next day felt like the world had been rearranged. Claire woke up to sunlight pouring through the windows. But the house felt different, lighter, almost like it had been holding its breath and finally let go. She knew, without thinking, that things were no longer the same. The night before had changed everything. It had brought Lena back into their lives, and with her came a kind of quiet tension that Claire couldn't ignore. It wasn't drama. It was something deeper. It was hope. Claire went downstairs to find Lena already awake, standing by the kitchen window with a mug of coffee in her hands. She looked calm, but her eyes held a weight that made Claire realize this wasn't just a visit. Lena wasn't here by accident. She had come back for a reason. And that reason was bigger than any of them were ready to admit. "Morning," Lena said softly. "Morning," Claire replied, trying to keep her voice steady. She wanted to ask questions, to understand what Lena was doing here. But she didn't know where to begin. Ethan entered the kitchen a few minutes later. He looked tired, but there was a new softness in his expression. He didn't seem angry or bitter anymore. He seemed relieved. Claire noticed the way his shoulders relaxed when he saw Lena. It was like he had been carrying a heavy bag for years, and someone finally took it off his back. They spoke in simple sentences, as if trying to keep things normal. But Claire could feel the tension under the surface. She could tell that both of them were careful with their words, trying not to say the wrong thing. She didn't want to interrupt them, but she also couldn't ignore how close they seemed. How easy it was for them to be together after all these years. Over the next few days, Lena stayed in the guest room. She helped around the house. She cooked dinner. She laughed at Ethan's jokes. She listened when he talked about the things he missed. Claire watched them, and it hurt in a way she couldn't explain. She was happy for her brother, but she also felt like a stranger in her own home. One afternoon, Ethan left for work, and Claire found herself alone with Lena in the living room. Lena looked at Claire with a quiet intensity, like she wanted to say something important but wasn't sure how. "You don't have to be polite with me," Lena said. Claire blinked. "What do you mean?" Lena sat down on the couch and looked at Claire as if she was trying to see right through her. "I know this is strange for you. I know I hurt your brother. I know you don't owe me anything." Claire didn't know what to say. She had spent years hearing stories about Lena. She had imagined her as someone cruel, someone who didn't care. But now that she was here, she realized Lena wasn't cruel. She was broken. She was human. "I don't hate you," Claire said quietly. "I just don't know what to do with this." Lena nodded. "That's fair." They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the quiet of the house. It felt like the house itself was waiting for something to happen. Claire felt a strange sense of peace, even though her heart was racing. "I want to make things right," Lena said finally. "Not just with Ethan, but with you too. You're his family. You deserve an explanation." Claire leaned forward, curious. "Then give me one." Lena took a deep breath. "When I left, I thought I was saving him. I thought I was protecting him from the person I was becoming. I didn't know how to say it, so I ran. I thought I could fix myself somewhere else. But I never did. I only made it worse." Claire listened carefully. She could hear the honesty in Lena's voice. It wasn't an excuse. It was a confession. "I'm sorry," Lena said. "I know that's not enough." Claire didn't respond right away. She felt the weight of the moment. She thought about her own mistakes, her own fear. She thought about how she had run too. She realized Lena wasn't the only one who had tried to escape. "I don't know if I can forgive you," Claire said, "but I can listen." Lena nodded, grateful. "That's all I'm asking for." That night, Ethan came home later than usual. Claire could tell something had happened. He was quiet, and his face looked distant. Lena noticed it too. She watched him carefully, like she was waiting for him to break. When Ethan finally sat down at the kitchen table, Lena spoke first. "I miss you," she said simply. Ethan looked up, his eyes shining. "I miss you too." They didn't argue. They didn't shout. They didn't say the things people often say when they're angry. Instead, they spoke like two people who had been holding their breath for years and finally let it out. Claire felt a strange warmth in her chest. She realized that this was what love looked like when it was real. Not loud, not dramatic, just honest. The next day, Claire went for a walk alone. She needed time to think. She walked down the quiet street, past houses she had grown up in, past trees that looked the same as they always had. But everything felt different. The town didn't feel like a place she was hiding in anymore. It felt like a place where life was still possible as she walked. She thought about Ethan and Lena. She thought about the way Ethan had looked at Lena the night they first reunited. She thought about the way Lena had apologized, the way she had been brave enough to come back. Claire realized something she hadn't been ready to admit. She was happy for them, and she was ready to forgive. When she returned home, she found Ethan and Lena on the porch. They were standing close together, not touching, but close enough that Claire could see the connection. They looked like two people who had been lost and finally found each other again. Ethan turned to Claire. "I want you to know something," he said. Claire looked at him, waiting. "I don't want to lose you either," he said. "Not you. Not anyone. I just want to be honest." Claire nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "I know." Lena smiled softly. "I'm not going anywhere." Claire felt a strange sense of relief wash over her. She realized that the night Lena came back wasn't just about Ethan. It was about all of them. It was about healing. It was about understanding that love doesn't always arrive in perfect timing. Sometimes it comes late. Sometimes it comes messy. But when it comes with honesty, it can change everything. That night, the three of them sat in the living room together. They didn't need to say much. They didn't need to fix everything at once. They just sat in silence, letting the moment sink in. Claire looked at her brother and Lena and realized that the night that changed Ethan's life had also changed hers. It had reminded her that love could still be real. It had reminded her that it was okay to hope again. And for the first time in months, Claire felt like she belonged somewhere, like she wasn't running anymore, like her heart might finally be ready to open again.